In this video, I'll give you the top waiver wire players to target heading into week 8. I'm Jim Coventry of RotoWire. All right, quarterback position. We even go to the Thursday night game here. Bo Nix has rushed for 61 and 75 yards in the last 2 games. Now, he has 3 rushing scores of the season also. The passing production, not really great. It's been very minimal. Now, there's always value in a running quarterback. Troy Franklin got a little bit involved. It's possible there's a little more passing production, but the rushing volume helps with 2-quarterback league only, of course. I don't see a world where the passing game gets to a point where Bo Nix is a 1-quarterback league, but in 2-quarterback leagues, I think you're getting more and more confidence because of the running game. Drake May of the New England Patriots is next. Solid fantasy totals in his first 2 starts. Now, the game against the Jaguars, first drive, he got them in the end zone. JaMychal Hasty catches a touchdown, and then there's nothing. And then the garbage time late. I think Demario Douglas may have been either ill or a little bit off in this one, so I think he was off the field for periods of time. But again, Drake May didn't run for a lot here, but he has rushing ability. He's already shown some command of the offense. Bad offensive line, but I think Drake May, again, he may be a guy that's bordering the top 15 to 18 option as he continues to grow with the offense. All right, next, Marcus Mariota of the Washington Commanders. I don't know if Jaden Daniels' ribs injury is going to cost him time, but if he does, and not excited about Mariota's next game. If he starts for Daniels, if he's out, it would be against the Bears. That's a nightmare matchup. But we saw Mariota. He has rushing ability. He got the ball to Terry McLaurin, smart man. That offense is functioning at a very solid level, really setting things up for success for the quarterback. So again, maybe not if Daniels misses extended time. 2-quarterback leagues, definitely take a look at Mariota. All right, next one. We don't know if it's Jameis Winston or Dorian Thompson-Robinson of the Cleveland Browns, but we know Deshaun Watson had an Achilles injury. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but I assume it's long-term. I make that assumption. I could be wrong. But that said, Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the number 2 quarterback this week. Winston had been the 2 all year, and they made Winston the emergency quarterback. Well, Thompson-Robinson comes in, runs around, does his usual, not too much, but hurts a finger. And then Winston's forced in the game. And Winston throws a touchdown pass. But Winston, realistically, if Watson's out, I think they know Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They can't go with him. Winston could support. He's going to throw his interceptions. I get it. It's going to be better for Nick Chubb because you could stress the field with Winston. They know he can throw deep. So defense can't just creep everybody up. And, we'll talk about the wide receivers later. But I do think this could be a massive upgrade from Watson, who's a terrible quarterback at this point. But for fantasy, if you're looking for waivers, again, if you're not announced who the starter is, I'd make the claim on Winston because he is the one that could end up being a 2-quarterback option for you. Finally, Gardner Minshew could go back to the starting role. Aiden O'Connell may have had some kind of a hand or a thumb injury. It looked fairly serious. Minshew's fantasy value is very low. He was terrible against the Rams. Again, 2-quarterback leagues, all quarterbacks have value, so you might look at that. Running backs, actually, it's a small list this week, and a couple of them come from the Thursday night game that was played a while back. So running back first, Alexander Madison. He might be rostered in a lot of leagues. I get it, but there might be some leagues where he's not. He was the clear lead for the Raiders. It doesn't say much. Samir White was active, and he did play. But against the Rams, Madison handles 26 touches, 123 scrimmage yards. He's going to have bad games if he's on the field, and he's not a good player, but he catches some passes. He is their goal line option most of the time. So again, depending on the size of your league, if Madison's available, you need running back help, you certainly could do worse. All right, Kendre Miller played on Thursday night of the New Orleans Saints. He had most of his touches against Denver in garbage time. I want to point that out so you understand that his numbers may not have been indicative of what he really was. But Jamal Williams, he's not been doing great. He's the backup to Kamara, and Miller is probably sharing with Williams that backup role, but it may be much. Miller looks good to take over that number 2 role. It may not be a lot of volume, but Alvin Kamara has been worked heavily. They finally scaled him down a bit, especially in the blowout loss. But again, Kendre Miller could have some value, so definitely make a speculative ad on him if he's available in your league. Finally, another speculative ad, which may or may not pan out, Audric Estime of the Denver Broncos. He did lose a soft fumble late in that game against the Saints, and that may not benefit him. But Estime played only 9% of the snaps, up from 4% the prior week. But again, if Denver finds they need a power back at some point, it's possible Estime could work in that role. This is a speculation ad also because Javonte Williams in 3 of the last 4 games has played quite well. All right, that wasn't many running backs, but if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings. You get a free 2-day trial. No credit card needed. Head on over to rotowire.com/Jim. You can check out all of our content. All right, wide receivers. Troy Franklin, back to that Thursday night game, Denver Broncos. Now, Franklin had not played 31% of the snaps in any of Denver's first 5 games. Last 2 weeks, he's finally seeing work. 58% snap share, averaging 3.5 catches, 40 yards, and a half a touchdown, averaging 4.5 targets. Franklin, remember, he played in college with Bo Nix. Apparently, he's getting more of a role now. The familiarity between Nix and Franklin could be a thing. So, again, it's not the worst speculative ad based on that chemistry they have. Ricky Pearsall, the San Francisco 49ers, he could move into a volume role if Brandon Ayuk, with the knee injury he suffered during the game against the Chiefs, misses time. At this recording, we don't know what the status of that knee injury is. Now, it's also possible Jacob Cowing on the same team is in the mix. Don't know if it's just going to be Pearsall moving in. So there's a lot of moving parts there, and as to how much volume would go there, because they have Debo, they have Kittle, they'll eventually get McCaffrey back. But again, receiver in the 49ers offense, it could be useful in the bye weeks and injuries crop up. But again, Ricky Pearsall was a coveted draft pick of theirs, so he could expand into a role if Ayuk is set to miss time. Trey Tucker of the Las Vegas Raiders, he's targeted at least 5 times in 3 of the Raiders' last 4 games. Now, he's only surpassed 40 yards once. He had like an 80-yard game 4 weeks ago or so, but he is seeing over 85% of the snaps. When Jacoby Myers comes back, I expect it's Tucker that remains in the lead role with him. I don't think it's DJ Turner. I think he's clearly the number 3 in this mix. So Tucker, again, bad offense, but again, being on the field and some volume, that means something. Bub Means of the New Orleans Saints, he led the Saints with 89% of the snaps against the Broncos on Thursday. In 2 games, he's averaged, Bub Means, 4 catches, 41 yards, and a half a touchdown. Now, here's the thing. We know Olave's probably coming back. He had a concussion. It could be longer. We don't know. But Cedric Wilson didn't, and we'll talk about him in a moment. But Wilson had a lot of his production with Jake Haener late. But it's either going to be Wilson or Means playing alongside, because Rashid Shaheed's out for the season. So Means is a speculative ad. He has shown some production. So speculative ad, we don't know for sure he'll have that role. We take a look at him. Next, Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. He catches 8 to 12 targets. I think it's around 80 yards. And if Jameis Winston gets moved into the role, if we're going to have him take over for Deshaun Watson, Cedric Tillman becomes a real possibility. Tillman was a 3rd-round draft pick. He's a player that they did believe in. He shows flash that he can play. I do believe that he could be like an outside lead receiver for a quarterback like Jameis Winston. So I do think there is definite value in adding Cedric Tillman again if Winston gets the job. If it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I'm not excited about the passing game at all. Next, Olamide Zaccheaus has been targeted 6 times in 3 of the last 4 games. He's only surpassed 27 yards once, but he did have an 85-yard game in week 4, but there's some PPR value there. And I guess it's low end, deep league, really. That's about as far as it goes. Next, Cedric Wilson of the Saints. I talked about him when I talked about Bub Means. Now, Cedric Wilson played 69% of the snaps against Denver. Now, remember, Olave was out. So it was Olave and Shaheed out. So was Bub Means or was Cedric Wilson going to be put in a more prominent role? Cedric Wilson's a veteran. Probably has a little better understanding of different things the team like do route-wise than Bub Means, but it depends what agenda the team wants to push. They want the young guy. Wilson would serve a purpose. So it's a speculative ad. And remember, Wilson had a lot of his pressure between the touchdown with Jake Haener in the last drive when we saw Rattler get knocked out of the game. So a speculative ad, no guarantee he's in that second role, but he could be. And he has NFL production in his rear view, so it's possible he gets something going there. Moore is next, targeted 7 times against Cincinnati. If Jameis Winston takes over that starting job, back to Winston again. Moore could work his way into PPR flex value. Tight ends, Hunter Henry, 2 games with Drake May, averaging 5.5 catches, 67 yards, and 7 targets. May have top 12 value going forward. Jonnu Smith. It may dry up when Tua comes back and they're using their receivers, but Jonnu Smith had 62 yards in week 5, 96 and a touchdown this week. Coach McDaniel said he wanted to weaponize Jonnu Smith, and he may be learning some things, and he may have a role even when Tua comes back and those receivers, Waddle and Hill, are cooking. Jatavian Sanders, averaging 5.5 catches, 55 yards over the last 2 games, 18 targets in the last 3. It's improving as the season goes on. Again, you need a second tight end. Could be worth looking at. Finally, Lucas Krull, Denver Broncos. Greg Dulcich is out of the picture. Krull's the lead receiving tight end. 2 games, averaging 2.5 catches, 26 yards, 4 targets. Low upside, little bit of a floor. Again, if you're desperate, Lucas Krull could be an ad.